Hey guys, welcome again to my channel. So I'm just going to get right into it and talk about the problems that I've had switching over from a mostly raw based diet to the carnivore diet, and it's not been easy. And I think that's because I was raw vegan for a really long time, since I was in my early teens, and I don't know if it's just me, but let me explain to you what can go on behind the scenes. It's been about 2.5 months now, and it does seem that I'm getting better, because I am trying to overcome ulcerative colitis naturally, and about every month I feel some little increment of feeling better. I mean, more than little, but it's a subtle thing. As my energy goes a little bit more up, the mood gets a little bit better, there's less like bouts of sadness or just void or depression or that kind of thing. It does subside more and more as the month, not basically a little bit every day, but it will be just like 1 month and then it'll get better, and then 1 month and then it'll be good. I have started gaining weight. I was a lot skinnier, of course, when I was vegan, but I also had ulcerative colitis, so I couldn't really eat much. It's not a fun story. I heard that it's because that when you're so malnutritioned, then of course you're going to be gaining weight more, and then it's going to like plateau and you might lose some, gain some, that kind of thing. And I have been gaining weight, but I think the main reason is because I've heard about this fat adaptation thing, that the best place to be is when you're fat adapted. So that has not really happened for me, and I was kind of forcing myself to eat the fat because I still cannot get used to the fat. I can eat a little bit if it's with the meat, but then alone, just to eat a chunk of fat is like, oh, I can't do it yet. So, and that is, I think, the reason why I am gaining the weight, because obviously I am not fat adapted yet. And still, so when I eat the fat, it will not be used, it will just be stored. And from the very beginning, when I first started this 2.5 months ago, my cravings for sugar were like intense. As you know, on the raw food or vegan diet, it's basically glucose based. Your body gets used to using glucose sugar for energy, and being that long of a time on that kind of diet, no dairy, no meats, it's very hard for the body to switch over, like it is for me. So, I mean, I see it more as the cravings subside. But at the beginning, the cravings were so intense, and I was just, let's be honest here, you know, you just gotta do what you gotta do. I was eating a lot of raw honey because that was the only kind of sugar glucose thing that I could have. I couldn't go completely because I heard that the yogurt and the raw honey is still good for you for the ulcerative colitis, and the raw honey kills off the bad bacteria and stuff because it is an antibiotic. So I was having a lot of cravings. I was eating a lot of raw honey. I was not trying to, but the cravings were just too much. And then I was also having things like unsweetened coconut flakes, and that had a bit of a sweetness with the oil, so that kind of helped stave off the severe hunger from the blood sugar levels going up and down because of the cravings of the sugar. And also I was eating the unsweetened yogurt. Well, first I was eating the sweetened. When I found out it was sweetened, I cut it to the unsweetened, but it was artificially sweetened, so that's still not the best thing. But now, okay, so 2.5 months later, I do have less. Now I don't really crave those things, and it just goes to show that with time they will go away. Because I was such a long time on the diet, it takes a while for your body to get used to it, and kind of it gradually turns over to the like protein based, fat based, using that as a main source other than the glucose. Another big difference from being on the raw food diet specifically, this is not for everyone, I understand, but for me it is, and I know that there a lot of girls can relate, because coming from the societal dieting and what the books are about and everything, it's about having small portions of everything. You know, you have your potatoes or your carbs, and then your meats, and then your vegetables, and it really gets you in, like as a young girl, it really takes you into a disordered eating mentality, because eating small portions is hard. I don't know, and it's just for me, it's harder to eat small portions. Some people just have this naturally where they can eat small, but there's a lot of people out there that don't, and that's why I think so many girls or guys went onto this vegan diet, because they were so restrained, especially in their mentality of disordered eating, anorexia. When you hear that you can eat as much as you want and you won't gain weight and you'll be satisfied, it's like freedom, you know. It's like, it's amazing to hear like, I can eat that much food and I'm not going to be hungry again. Because when you come from the dieting world, where you have strict portion sizes, and those portion sizes do not satisfy you, okay, you're still hungry after them, and some vegan or a raw food person says you can eat this huge bowl of salad and you're just happy, you're sitting there, you're like, I get to eat this whole thing and I'm not going to gain weight. But that is completely wrong, and that's where I fell into the trap. And I think that's why so many people went into the raw food or veganism as well, because they have this kind of fear and problem that if they go back to eating small, that they're still going to be hungry. But I'm just here to say, switching over to the carnivore diet is completely different. It's scary even for me, because going into it, I feel like, oh, I'm just going to be hungry. I'm not going to be able to eat to my satisfaction, and I'm not going to be satiated to the point of feeling happy. But that is completely wrong. Switching over to the carnivore diet, you do feel satiated. You have this much meat or whatever, and the thing is, you will feel satiated. At first you may not, because your body doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know how to, you know, it's used to using the glucose, and now it's got to use real protein and fat, so it doesn't really get it. But then it'll start like, okay, this is our main thing, okay, let's do this. At first it rejects it, but then it gets used to it, and it starts using it more and more, and the more it uses it, the more satiated you feel, the more happier you feel, and the more like good feel hormones you have in your brain. On the carnivore diet, I cannot eat a lot as I ate on the raw food diet. I would eat a lot of volume, because all it is water weight, fiber, and low calorie foods. It would be glucose and water based, a lot of it. And I wasn't kind of a person that, I didn't have a lot of those nuts and creamy nut dressings, and I didn't do any of that, because I know that makes me gain weight, all those nuts, definitely. So I stayed away from them. On the raw food diet, you can eat a lot, and your stomach will be like big, right? Full of all that food, but then it'll go down, like the next day it'll be down again. Whereas with the carnivore diet, you can only eat a little bit, and it's so strange. Like, I've been on this thing for so long, it's just so strange for me to eat a little and be satisfied, and actually start to want to do things after I eat, instead of just relaxing or laying down or watching a movie. I actually feel like doing something productive and doing something creative, which goes back to how I used to be in childhood. After supper, I would do the most creative things. I would have fashion shows and dress up and tell me which one do you like better. Or I would clean out all the cupboards and organize everything. And that is exactly what it's going back to. So that's the natural state that we, even as children, the body is in. On the vegan diet or the raw food diet, I would be snacking pretty much all day because I would be hungry all day. The blood sugar would go up and then it would go down again, so I would snack all day. And whereas with the carnivore diet, I was doing that as well, and then I noticed I can't do that because I'm gaining weight. I have to somehow think differently about this kind of carnivore lifestyle. And what I found out that now I only have 2 meals a day, and I feel better when I have 2 meals a day without snacking. And you just can't bring that mentality into the carnivore diet because it doesn't work. The carnivore diet is better, like your body's more efficient when you don't eat so many times a day. And another scary thing that came up was fasting, because when you're on the raw vegan diet, when I was on the raw vegan diet, fasting was kind of scary for me because there's no stable blood sugar because of the glucose fluctuations. So fasting is easy and great when you have a stable blood sugar, when you have a real protein-based diet. And I really think that the carnivore diet is where natural intermittent fasting comes into play. Whereas with the raw vegan diet, from the mentality of disordered eating and never having enough and I'm always hungry, it's kind of a scary thing, but it will come naturally with the carnivore diet. You just have to kind of don't give up, just give yourself into the carnivore diet and then think this is not the same way as the vegan diet. There has to be different thinking about the carnivore diet, and that is what naturally comes about. Eating 1 or 2 times a day, or only 3 times a day, and not snacking in between, because then you actually feel better and your body is switches over and utilizes that. Instead of just using the instant food, it will use the food that's already inside of you. The carnivore diet takes care of itself. It's not a mind over matter, which was for me. I'm hungry, but I am resisting this, I am abstaining from this, and I can overcome by my will. And let me tell you, the will eventually gives up. The will eventually has no more power. But with the carnivore diet, it speaks for itself. It will sustain you rather than you having to use your willpower to make it happen. Just trust the carnivore diet and what it's doing, and it will balance you out. It will level out your blood pressures. It will give you a stable blood pressure so you can easily abstain from snacking, from eating too many meals or large meals. It will level out the energies, your moods, your satiation level, your real hunger. Now I feel hunger differently than when I first started. When I first started, I was still having the blood sugar up and down. My body didn't really know what was going on. I was giving it protein and it didn't really use that at first because I was still kind of getting that stable blood sugar. I would have still stars in my eyes, blackouts. I feel very weak. I have to bend over and breathe. I would still have that from the prior diets. Now my hunger is not a blood sugar level hunger that I feel I can feel it here. I feel the blood sugar here. I don't know how to explain. But now I feel it in my stomach, and I don't feel any blood sugar on the outside. It's hard to explain, but on the blood, I don't feel the blood sugar hunger up and down, hung on down. I have to eat something. Now I feel it in my stomach and I feel burning. And at first when I was feeling this, I was thinking, what is wrong? Is there something wrong with my stomach? Because I have not felt that kind of hunger in an extremely long time. So that is the real kind of hunger pangs that you get when your body's telling you it's time to eat. So now you can know what actually it is on the carnivore diet. On the raw food and vegan diet, problem of the disordered eating, and that's why you're on the raw food or vegan diet. I'm just saying from myself, I'm not saying you're, but there are a lot of people out there, just from my experience, what I've gone through. So you end up not really fixing the problem, not addressing the problem, because you're eating the wrong foods and you're trying to use your will to address the problem. When you go to a carnivore diet, the will doesn't come into play. It will take care of you. But when you're switching over from a disordered eating to a vegan or raw food diet, then you're not fixing the problem. The problem is still there. The fear is still there. You're just covering it up so that you don't see it externally. Physically, it doesn't show up. You don't gain a lot of weight. You don't look bad on your face. Why is it that when I was doing the raw vegan diet, I looked good on my face? My face was shiny and clear, and you know, I was thin and all that, but I was thinner and I felt like lighter. But why was it that inside I was suffering so bad with the chronic ulcerative colitis, with the chronic H. pylori bacteria infestation, and the excessive bleeding? Why was that before when I looked so good on the outside? Because it doesn't address the problem of the disordered eating that has come about because of the societal dieting. They don't tell you about the carnivore diet. If they had, then you would not feel those things. They come from your food, and they don't come from what you are or what you think. Because now, starting the carnivore, I don't think that way, and those fears are going away. The disordered eating mentality is going away because I do feel like I can eat a smaller portion and be happy and be satiated and not have those thoughts or those fears anymore. When you're doing the carnivore diet, you have to address portion control. But don't address it right away like you shouldn't, because that's just going to give stress and strain on your body and on your mentality. Just let it come naturally. Like for me, I was still eating the raw honey and the yogurts and the unsweetened coconut flakes, blueberries. I was still eating those things because I was still kind of transitioning from glucose to protein. Later on, depending how long you've how long you've made your body use glucose, it's going to depend how long it takes to get you to start using that protein and feeling differently again. So just be patient with yourself. But the portion control will come into play, or intermittent fasting will naturally come into play. With the carnivore diet, you can eat that smaller portion, and the body switches over to using the protein more and more as the major energy source. So your hormones are gradually going to be gaining higher and higher, and that comes into the creativity, the wanting to do something after you've eaten. In the beginning, I would be kind of sneaking in sugar that I wasn't really aware of. Like for example, I would be eating ketchup, which has sugar in it. I think you can get the unsweetened. And a lot of the pickled jars that you get at the grocery stores, they do have added sugar in them, so that's another sneaky sugar that gets into there. And the body gets more efficient at using the protein. Like my digestive system doesn't feel like one big muddle anymore, like just everything mixed around and it doesn't know what to do with it. And I think that really has to do with the too much sugar in the diet. The sugar just kind of like scrambles everything, and the body has a hard time picking out the proteins from the sugars and all that. So just beware of the hidden sugars and when you're really hungry, don't reach for the sugar. Reach for, you know, your protein sources. Anyway, I have talked for a while. If you have anything to comment or to say about anything that I've said, I know I've covered a lot of different like scattered things, please leave it down below. I'll definitely comment you back. I really do hope this helped you, and kind of, if you're new to going on the carnivore diet, it kind of helped transition of what it's like you really have to change your mindset. And because if you've been vegan for a long time, you're definitely vegan mindseted, and it's just, you have to see things a different way and kind of just resist as least as possible and just let it come naturally, the transitioning from the vegan or raw food to the carnivore. And just don't be resistant about it. Don't let your mind like resist it. Just kind of observe and see how things play out, and they will take you slowly into them. Thank you so much for staying tuned to this video. And as always, please leave a message, subscribe, and there's many more things to come. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.